Marie.
They left.
Welcome to AWS On Air.
I told you, I'm excited about this.
We want to help you see the things that are new and launching.
We are throwing you into the deep end. Day 10. Let's do it.
Hello.
Hey,
Welcome.
everyone.
It's Friday AM.
Yeah, what does that mean, Marie?
It means that we are on air.
Yeah, this is our Friday show. Welcome to the show, everybody. This is AWS On Air. We're so excited that you're here with us. How are you doing? We can see you out there. Be sure to drop a comment in chat. Let us know where you're joining from. If you are joining for the first time, you're in store for quite a treat, I think. What do you think, Marie?
I agree. I mean, I came back for the show, so I'm very excited for all of the fun launches that we're going to share today.
Yeah, if you've never watched this before, this is the show where we cover the latest and greatest that's happening at AWS. So if you're trying to keep up to date with all the things we're doing, you're in the right place. Thank you for joining us. Maria, I had to ask you, since you're joining us for the first time in quite a long time, we've got a new intro there. Got to get your opinion. I think it's a little Nick heavy. There's a lot of Nick.
Yeah. I mean, it is Nick heavy, but I think it's for a good reason. I think like Nick really just carries the show. And so I'm glad to see him in there in those videos.
Wow. You have been gone for a long time. We don't usually give Nick praise, so that's weird. Yes, if you're joining, what do you think about the, yeah, of course. I wonder who that comment is coming from. Maria is our new favorite host. If you are joining us, let us know what you think about that intro. I love that intro. I think it's so great since we added it. But we're not here to talk about the intro. We're here to talk about product launches. We're going to hear from Marie's favorite, I think, Jeff Barr. Is Jeff your favorite?
I mean, I have a lot of favorites. I don't discriminate. So.
All right. I don't know. I don't know. All right. And then we're going to be hearing from our friends at Repost as well. We might even have a little guest appearance from our friend Darko, which I haven't seen Darko in so long. I'm happy to see Darko. We got a jam-packed show for you, in other words. And the most important part of the show is you out there. Hello. I wish this was in 3D. I could do some cheap 3D effects here.
Yeah.
You need to talk to us.
Yes,
right?
Talk to us. I saw someone joining from India, so I have no idea what time it is there, but thank you for joining. You have a fun show in store for you. Yeah, and as AM mentioned, I have not been a host for the last 2 years, and so I came back for the show, really excited. I've been with AWS for almost 10 years, and this is one of the best things that I get to do. And so I'm happy to join and help share about some of these launches today.
Yeah, and we want to hear from you. What are your questions? We're going to have people from the product teams. We're going to have the experts on the show to answer your questions. So fire away. Let's hear what you need answered. And the only way to do that is to drop that in chat. And we can see chat. Marie and I are looking right at chat. Let us know what you're thinking.
So AM, before we jump to invite our first guest on, for those who have not been on air or watched on air before, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and what they should expect from you?
Me? Nobody cares about me. Come on. Yeah, I'm AM. I am a host on air, but my day job is over on the AWS Game Day team. You might have caught a show yesterday on this channel called Step Up Your Game Day. If you didn't, where were you? Well, I sent you an invite. Why didn't you show? We air the last Thursdays of the month, and we play through Game Day. That's the team that I'm on. I'm a developer advocate for the Game Day team.
Yeah, it sounds like a fun team. Really cool.
It's a pretty fun team. Yeah. You're not biased at all towards the Game Day team, are you?
No. Zero bias.
All right. Well, we're about 4 minutes into the show. I think it's just about time that we introduce our first guests and hear all about some really cool latest and greatest serverless development launches. What do you think?
I'm ready.
I told you I'm excited about this.
Welcome to the show. I love that little soundbite from Kyle every time. Anyways, welcome to the show. Please introduce yourself to the audience.
Hi, Marie. Hi, Am. Hi, everyone. I'm Prerna Chaudhary. I'm a PM in the Lambda team, and I'm really excited to talk to you about some of the recent launches that we've done to improve the serverless developer experience space.
Yes, yeah. So I'm a dev. I actually got my start at AWS on serverless. That's how I got introduced to AWS for the first time back probably 2015, 2016. It was right around when we launched AWS Lambda. I was not working for AWS at that time, but it caught my attention because, I think I've heard the same story from everybody interested in serverless, right? You write a bunch of code. Before Lambda, it was a little difficult maybe if you were a full-time developer to figure out how to run that code somewhere. You had to rely on operations people, you had to rely on the people that knew how to run servers to get your code deployed. Lambda is one of the first times me as a developer, I can push stuff, right? And we have only improved that experience, right? So I'm very excited to talk to you as well about how we've been improving that experience when it comes to the developer experience itself, right? When I'm building a serverless application. So you want to give us a rundown maybe of the past couple months. I know a couple significant things have been launched to really improve how people are building serverless applications.
Yeah, for sure, Em. And as you mentioned, at Lambda, we focus a lot on improving the developer experience because we realize that if you give and provide like a streamlined experience to developers, then they'll have a delightful experience of using Lambda. So a couple of capabilities we have launched in this year, but here I'm going to talk about 3 new capabilities that we launched recently to streamline the serverless development experience. The first launch that we did was the console to IDE integration, which lets you seamlessly transition from your AWS Lambda console to your IDE. So basically, if you have your Lambda function that you created in Lambda console with a one-click button, you can transition to your IDE. So this bridges the gap between your local and the cloud development. The second key thing that we launched was about remote debugging of your Lambda functions. So one of the key challenges that we saw customers face was around debugging your cloud functions when they arise issues into permissions or some VPC configuration. So this allows you from your IDE to debug your function and understand and diagnose the issues. The third key capability that we launched, and all of these, if you see, kind of like simplifies the local testing and the experience of serverless developers. The third capability was that we integrated local stack, which is an AWS partner, and also a service that kind of like emulates close to like 100 plus AWS services. And with this new integration of local stack in the VS Code, you can emulate your serverless applications locally and then iterate in the IDE itself without doing a lot of context switching. So the idea of all of these 3 launches was to simplify, to ensure that the customers have a faster feedback loop. And at the same time, they are able to test and debug the serverless application and move to the cloud. So yeah, that's a little bit about the launches that we did.
Yeah, that's exciting. Especially, I think the part that you called out is the why, right? Like these are pain points for our customers and really trying to simplify and automate and speed up the testing process so that folks can move faster in their environment. That's great. So yeah, do you want to tell us a little bit about maybe what customers used to have to do before we had these launches in place?
Yeah. So before these launches were in place, customer has to do a lot of context switching, and there was a lot of friction in each of the steps. So for example, let's say most of our customers start in the Lambda console because it's so intuitive and easy to create a function there. So let's say you created your function there. If you had to move to the IDE before the launch, then you had to make sure that your local environment is set up. Then you had to download your function code and your dependencies and ensure that those are wired up in the IDE. With this launch, it's basically a one-click step where we basically transition the user uh, directly from the console to the IDE experience. So we remove that pain point. The other component was around diagnosing the issues that arise in their staging environment around the permissions and all of that. So that before the solution, customers had to basically move their logic locally, and then I tried to test out, okay, what permissions are going wrong. So it could lead to several dev cycles or iterations. With this launch now, they can step through the code directly and understand, okay, what exactly went wrong in my code. And in a couple of minutes, they're able to fix that issue because they are now able to remotely debug their cloud function. For the third one, also, it was a lot of context switching for the users. So for example, if they wanted to use local stack, because it was not integrated into the VS Code, they had to use the local stack UI to see their resources. They had to set up the local stack in the CLI. And at the same time, if they wanted to switch between the local and cloud resources, they would have to move out of the IDE. So all of these launches, the focus was that the customer stays within the IDE because that's where they do the development. So all of these launches were focused was how do we provide an integrated experience in the IDE itself so that the dev cycle for the end users is faster.
Yeah, speaking of, I think maybe we should take a look at the IDE and see some of this stuff working, if that's okay with you. Are you ready to pull up your screen?
Yeah.
Okay, let's get into the demo. We've got a few questions from chat as well. I'll walk through that as well as we talk, but let's start with the first one from Vivek on YouTube, I believe is where you're joining us from. Thank you for watching. How does local stack work with Amplify Gin 2? I just wanted to state up front, we're talking primarily about serverless applications today. It doesn't mean that local stack doesn't work with the features within Amplify Gin 2. I'll preface this with local stack, as our guest stated, is an emulator. So it basically sets up the same API endpoints locally for you that you would be hitting in the cloud for the services that you're using. So say DynamoDB, for example, right? It'll have the same API endpoints, but it will have a local host address instead of the AWS-based cloud address that you would be hitting. So you can test that the calls that you're making through the SDKs, for example, are correct, right? You have the right parameters, you have the right, SIG-v2 signing stuff in place. And in terms of Amplify, Amplify is just using AWS services, so should work. I don't think any of us are local stack experts though, but I'll let anything you want to add.
No, I think you're right on point, AM. Basically, the idea is local stack emulates all of these SDK calls itself. So if you want to test your service integrations locally, you can do that before moving to the cloud. They iterate on adding new capabilities, trying to keep pace with the AWS launches. So in terms of specific to Amplify, I'm not 100% sure how good their integration is. I can definitely talk about Lambda. They support a whole bunch of integrations and the common service integrations. So you can emulate the DynamoDB and Lambda integration and all of that locally without going to the cloud.
Makes sense. I think as we get into your demo, it'll make more sense. I've been through this developer loop many times, so I totally understand where you're coming from. It's, you never want to find out you have an IAM permission after you've waited for your CI/CD pipeline to build your entire application and then deploy it via CloudFormation. It's much easier if you can find those things faster and earlier, and that's what all of these tools are helping you do. Let's get into it though. Let's see this loop that you see developers doing.
Yep. And I'll be using a second screen to show the demo. So if you see me looking away, I'm still here. It's just that I'm demoing. Cool. So let's start with the demo. So for here, I'm going to create a very simple, I'm going to show the first launch. And here I'm going to create a very simple Lambda function. So let's create a Lambda function. And I'm just going to say, hello from on air. And I'm just going to keep the default permissions. 1 second. And create the function. So while this is it takes a couple of seconds just to create my Lambda function, and then I'm going to show you how seamless we have made the experience of transitioning from the console to the IDE. So my Lambda function is created, and you see this prompt. This is basically telling you that, hey, now you can set up your local development, for which you need to just configure your CLI credentials. And click in this open in Visual Studio Code, and it will take all of your code and dependencies from the console directly to your Visual Studio Code. For now, I'm going to make some changes in my Lambda function. Let's say I'm just saying hello from Lambda from console. And I'm going to deploy the changes. So once my changes are deployed successfully, I will just click on Open in Visual Studio Code. And again, I see that prompt. And if it's basically asking my confirmation if I want to open this Lambda function in the IDE. So I'll give it the permission, and I'll open the Visual Studio Code. And in my Visual Studio Code, you will see that my function will start, will automatically come here. Give it a couple of seconds and it will show it here, basically, because it's, and here you see the function that I created in the console. I can see it here. There are a couple of other things that we can do. It automatically detects the changes that I make here, and it prompts me to deploy to cloud as well. So for example, I say, hey, hello from Lambda from IDE, and click on save. I'll see a prompt below to deploy my changes. So I'll click on deploy, and what it does is basically it deploys my changes successfully to cloud. And that we can see in the Lambda console. So you can do a whole bunch of other operations also here. For now, I'm just going to, I just showed like this, the simple flow for which we enabled through the console to IDE experience. Now, in the AWS toolkit in VS Code IDE, you can also debug your deployed functions for, okay. And now I'm going to...
So you could drop a breakpoint right here in your local IDE that then will run within the cloud-based Lambda function.
Yes. So that's the second part of the launch. So before that, I actually want to show you the remote invoke functionality. So I can just click on remote invoke from here, and it shows me the output of that particular Lambda function. I can also set up a breakpoint, as AM mentioned, and click on remote debug. And I need to attach my local code, source code, which is here. And then I can just click on remote invoke. And what it does is, it is basically connecting my local IDE to my cloud, but by attaching the debugging session. So you can see here that I have the variables that I can change.
Can you,
So
Prerna, my eyes are not great over here. Do you mind if you zoom in a little bit? I want to make sure I capture all this. This is awesome.
yes.
I think that's a reminder. I need to get my prescription updated here.
I'm just looking at how do I zoom in.
You should be able to do Control+, I think, I believe you're on Windows. So I think that
Yes.
Control+ should work. I'm used to Mac, so.
Oh,
Is
there
this
we go.
better?
Yes.
Maybe one more. There you go.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. So let's say I'm basically step through the debugging. So I can see my output here is like hello from Lambda from IDE. I can make the changes, and which most of the users do while they're debugging. And let's say from on air. And I clicked on continue. So you'll see the output I see is hello from Lambda from on air. So that basically, I can inspect my variables on the fly while I'm trying to debug my function. And once I'm done diagnosing the issues, I can just remove the debugging setup. So, and this basically enables you to, if you see like this function was deployed in cloud, so I'm actually debugging a Lambda function in cloud. Now, I'll go ahead and show you the local stack capability. But
cool. Yeah, I wanted to point out as you transition over to that, a lot of times at least for me, I'll say, a lot of times when I'm developing, I'll write, a script that I intend to move into a Lambda function, and I'll be running it locally on my laptop, and I have AWS credentials that are not the same permissions as what I will have in my Lambda function role eventually. And so everything's going fine. Everything's great, right? Until I actually deploy it out, and then I've waited too long to test those permissions. And I think everything's great because I've got 2 permissive permissions on my laptop and everything's working. This, right, if I go through this workflow instead, I can find those issues a lot faster. I can see them even while I'm still in this local development environment and see, hey, the role I've got needs to add, and we had Todd in chat over here. Todd and I were commiserating. We definitely haven't been hurt in the past by any of this. We have no scars or anything. But yes, we were saying the same thing of like, I forgot to add query permissions to the table. Anyway, all right. So let's see. We've got a little bit of time left to see the local stack.
Yeah. So the third launch is about like integrating local stack in the VS Code IDE. So you can actually go through the entire installation in the IDE itself, where in the AWS Explorer, we have the new option to install local stack. Because I already have the local stack installed and it's currently running, so I'll not go through the installation, but once you click on this, it's basically a guided experience where in the IDE, it will show you how to set up your, create a local stack account, and also it will create a profile for you. And what that profile helps you with is switching between your cloud and your local resources.
Okay. I love it. I don't know if we'll have time, unfortunately, to get through everything, but I encourage the audience to go out and see the local stack integration for themselves, because I want to give you a chance to let everybody know where they should go to learn more, right? Because I know you've got a great, some blog posts. Oh, and look, just on cue, we've got them added to chat. But you want to tell us a little bit about these blog posts before we have to leave?
Yeah, so we definitely have 2 blog posts. One which talks about like the local stack integration in the VS Code IDE, and the other one which talks about the console to IDE and the remote debugging experience. And basically, all of these blog posts are towards a single mission that I stated in the initial version, was that, hey, how do we simplify the serverless developer experience? So yeah, please feel free to try this feature, and happy to get your feedback.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks so much. That was great. Yeah, so AM, I think I'm feeling a little bit ready for our next guest. What do you think?
Well, I mean, I'm going to be honest, having that back and forth with Todd, remembering all of the things that haunt me. I can't seem to shake it off. But hopefully
Yeah.
our next segment can help me with
Yeah.
that.
I
wanna
know, but
introduce?
well, before we get there, I want to make sure, like AM started at the beginning. Obviously, please send your questions our way, so that we can answer them throughout. But we always are looking to improve here at AWS On Air. So we have a survey that you can take to tell us: do you want to see more of AM? Do you want to see more of me? Maybe, or what do you want to see?
They want to see more of Marie, probably not AM. I just want to
Yeah,
clarify.
might take another 2 years, but we'll see. But yeah, please take the survey. You'll get $20 in AWS credits. It gives you the opportunity. You can test out some of the things that you're seeing on the show today or that you've seen in the past. So make sure that you go and do that.
Hey Marie, can I ask the audience also, when you're taking the survey, please don't leave a blank space.
Yeah, don't leave a blank space. But I think I knew that Trouble was going to walk in here in our next guest. So, AM, do you want to bring him on?
Yeah, let's see how Jeff Barr is doing, what he's been up to, and what news he has for us.
The Eagle has landed.
Marie, AM, great to see you both.
It's so great to see you. I'm so excited for the new news that we're going to hear today.
It's been a while. It's been like a month. I've been on the road here, there, and kind of everywhere. And I would love to do on air from the road, but I've learned that you have to actually, when you travel, you have to actually stick to your local activities and your local time zone, because it's too easy to think, okay, I'll stay up super late, or I'll like do this in the middle of the night or early morning, and I just end up regretting it later. I love to do it, but then it's like, you know what, there's just one of me, and I have a finite amount of energy.
Yeah,
I got to focus on the local time zone.
Yeah, until we build Agent Jeff. Yeah, there's only one. But yeah, do you want to tell us a little bit about what are your favorite trips or experiences while you're on the road?
So my most recent trip, I was in Geneva, Switzerland, and I went to this awesome AWS meetup. I think we had like 125 people in Geneva, which was totally a blast. I got to speak about my topic this year is called Next Generation Software Development. So I've been talking about, really, I start with the past, and I've moved from the past to the present to the future. Talk a lot about the fact that as developers, our job has always been to basically specify the intent of what we want to do. And that hasn't changed from the days of assembly language to compiled languages to interpreted languages to AI. It's just that the level of the intent gets higher and higher effectively. And it's been very well received, because there's a lot of kind of questions and uncertainty, and especially in the early career developers where they see AI, they're totally psyched about it, but then they're really a little uncertain as to what it means for them and how they should prepare for it. So my talk has been all about where are we, where are we going, what do we do? So I did that in Geneva. I was there for just a couple of days. I was so busy, I really actually never got to see the downtown of Geneva. I stayed near the airport. We did a day's worth of stuff there, and then we took a road trip to Lausanne to visit a customer, came back, packed up, and I flew on to Sarajevo. I got to Sarajevo at like 11:20 at night, got to the hotel well past midnight. 9 o'clock the next morning, picked me up to get started for the next round of things. And we did an awesome AWS community day. I think they had, I want to say about 700 people for the community day. Wow. In Sarajevo, which they drew people from all over the Adriatic region, which was awesome. Like people would, these community days are so awesome because they are, as the name suggests, they're initiated and organized and staffed by our community. Pulled people from all over the region. People drove 6-7 hours, across national boundaries to come to the community day to connect and listen and learn, and it was really awesome to be there.
I'm glad you followed your own advice, Jeff, because when I international travel, I often stay up too late and then I got nothing in my brain. So I'm glad you were able to enjoy the event, and you were able to make some connections and really drive home that community. That's important to us. But you have some news for us today.
I do, actually. So I'm off to Bucharest, Romania on Sunday. I'm doing Bucharest and Bulgaria, in case we've got fans in either of those places. So let's talk about some cool. Okay, so the first is just kind of simple, a new instance type. It's the R8GB. So this is like the R8G, which is already Graviton powered, and the B is higher EBS performance. So we've doubled the amount of EBS bandwidth on these instances. So they've got up to 150 gigabits per second of EBS bandwidth. So great for your NoSQL databases, relational databases, big data analytics, stuff that just needs a lot of I/O throughput to your EBS volumes. Available in 10 sizes in 2 regions, up to 96 CPUs and 768 gigabytes of memory. So pretty fierce, the amount of compute power and network power and EBS bandwidth in these. Oh, and the largest sizes also have elastic fabric adapter. So you've even got, so that's for doing high-speed networking as well. We'll drop a link to the what's new for those. I'm still always excited by new instance types. I know it's kind of old hat, but I still think they're actually pretty cool. Next cool thing is I think this is actually, sometimes it looks kind of simple on the surface, but I think it's super powerful, is an actual change to the way that our customers can use CloudWatch. So you can actually use tag-based query filtering for the alarms and for the metrics that you view. So instead of having all those alarms tied into specific resources and instance IDs and things like that, you can design a tagging structure and then define all your CloudWatch stuff in terms of tags. So that's cool. It's the level of indirection that solves everybody's problems, as is the case. So super cool. The one interesting thing is you actually need to enable it in CloudWatch. I think I have a screenshot here. Let me see if I can find the screenshot here. Yeah, there's a little screenshot you need to actually turn on here. It says enable resource tags on telemetry.
Okay.
So you need to turn that part on. And after you do that, apparently it takes about 3 hours for all the data to flow through the system. And then you can start defining your alerts and your metrics in terms of tags. So pretty excited to see how our customers could make use of that. I think that's super cool. And let's see, one more cool thing. So a couple of months ago, we introduced this awesome AI model called Nova Act. So Nova Act is an AI model that's specifically trained to help to perform actions within a web browser. So navigating to pages, finding stuff on a page, understanding the page, clicking on buttons, authenticating. And so the idea is you can actually build AI agents that are referencing web content. So we launched that, and we launched it as basically a not quite a preview, but kind of a lab release. So we launched that. It's still a lab release, but the cool thing is we actually announced an extension. So if you're using Kiro or VS Code, you've now got an IDE-based extension to help you build your Nova Act application. So it looks super neat to make it easier for you to experiment with Act. You can actually describe your workflow in natural language. So you can say, go to this web page and find the table in the middle and extract out these columns and turn that into JSON and so
that's
forth.
awesome. Yeah, I
I
need to go play around with that this weekend.
As always, we've got way too many cool things, and you have to pick and choose and decide, okay, here's just a couple of all the cool things to spend time with.
I don't know how you do it each week. There's so much to pick from, and you always whittle it down to the. I think you always do get the coolest stuff, Jeff. But it is not as. I don't envy your job over here.
Still fun after 23 years, believe it or not. So,
what do you got planned in Bucharest?
Okay, in Bucharest we have this. We have an Amazon Dev Center that is celebrating their 20-year anniversary. It's actually called the Amazon Development Center Romania. Apparently there's still a few seats left for the event next week. So if you search for Amazon Development Center Romania, you can find the registration. And it's kind of a unique conference because they invite several hundred Amazonians and then several hundred outsider folks. So I'm giving an outside talk to insiders, which is always kind of interesting because when you're talking to insiders, you have a lot more shared experiences that you can relate to. And when you're talking to outsiders, you've got to start from assuming that we have nothing in common and build from there. So there's this funny temptation when you're speaking to our colleagues that we've got a lot of things in common that are probably not true for the outsiders, just to always make it a little bit more fun as a speaker.
Fair enough. And we got a comment from YouTube from Bevan. Might not utilize all these right now, but one step at a time, I believe.
Step at a time.
the best way to learn those steps that you need to take right here on AWS.
For sure. You always have to find one interesting thing and pretend the rest of it doesn't exist and just spend some time on that one thing. If you try to master everything or even know something about everything, there's the fire hose is just too wide. You'll never catch up.
Yes,
Yeah. I did want to do a shameless plug, if that's okay. So, Jeff, I saw a couple of weeks ago you posted about the AI Agents Global Hackathon that AWS is currently running. I saw you posted on Reddit and on LinkedIn. We saw a ton of people. I think we have over 5,000 people registered.
Oh, that's awesome.
So that was something I wanted to say. So anyone's allowed to do that. So anyone here on air can join and participate and use some of the cool things that you're seeing here to build your agent, and your agent can do whatever you want it to do. So I wanted to call that out.
I see AM just dropped a link in the chat, actually. There we go.
Yes, Marie may have prepped me for that and asked that I drop a link in there. Yeah, go sign up. It's going to be fun.
For sure.
Yeah.
All right.
Amazing.
Next, is it time for the next guest? What do you think?
I think so. I think, Jeff, is there anything you wanted to say to the audience here today, since they might not see you for another month after all your travels?
I always appreciate when people find and follow me on LinkedIn. I try to share something interesting at least a couple times a week as time permits. But I've actually got several other cool things that are in my big pile of shareable stuff. I might be able to get a post out today. But always great to connect. I get too many interesting questions to respond individually. Unfortunately, there's a big challenge of being well known as its personal scalability. There's one of me, and there's a gazillion of everybody else, and it's. You say, well, I'd love to spend all my day in my inbox replying to questions. They're all awesome questions, but I just can't scale out.
Well, and we need you out there telling everyone about these cool things too. So
yeah.
Luckily, I'm a dime a dozen. There's tons of me out there. Not unique in any way. But Jeff, you want to help us introduce our next guest?
Yeah. So coming up next, we are going to learn all about how to use EBS in conjunction with one service I think is really cool that maybe people don't fully grasp how awesome it is, the fault injection service. I love this idea with fault injection that you can break stuff. Like I think we learned a long time ago at Amazon, before most of the world did, that breaking stuff proactively and in a structured way is really productive. So we'll learn how to do that today with our guests, Parnika and Kirill.
Awesome. Thanks, Jeff.
Bring him on, Nick.
I told you I'm excited about this.
Welcome to the show, you both. I have to start this segment, unfortunately, and tell you both it's going to be a hard segment for me. I'm going to do my best to imagine, because I have no faults, so it's very difficult for me to imagine what that's like. But I have a great suspicion you're going to help me understand better. Let's start with introductions. Kirill, you want to kick us off, please?
Sure. Hey all, I'm Kirill Davidichev. I'm a principal solutions architect here at AWS, mostly working with EBS. I've been doing this for nearly 5 years and been doing storage for about 15 years, a lot of which has been focused on identifying performance issues and simulating performance issues. So I feel like I'm in the right ballpark here. Parnika?
Hi everyone, great to be on the show. Thanks for having us. I'm a senior product manager at Amazon EBS, and I work primarily focusing in like the resiliency, observability space in EBS. So this is my forte.
So let's kick off a little bit. So we're going to be simulating faults, specifically with EBS and at the storage layer today. That's what we're talking about with the launch that we're going through today. But let's start a little bit with fault injection simulations, right? Again, prime use case for me, since I have none, right? To simulate them is great. Helps me to. I'm really going to just try this joke as many times as I can. But I don't know, one of you, Parnika or Kirill, do you want to talk about why people are interested in injecting faults into their applications? What does this help them achieve?
Yeah, absolutely. I can take that one. AM, and sorry, but you might have some thoughts. So,
pardon me? This would be news to me, but yeah.
That's a hit to his reputation there.
Wow.
We'll help you realize this by the end of the show.
Okay, fair enough.
But yeah, so FIS basically is based on the principles of like chaos engineering. It's creating chaos within your applications in like a control testing environment. So what customers can do is use this tool to really test how resilient their applications are against disruptive events. So FIS has a ton of like pre-built scenarios and like a large selection of actions that are actually integrated with other AWS services. So you'll have actions for EC2, you'll have actions for EKS. So you can essentially create faults or inject faults within different layers of your application stack to really know like what is your system's weakness. Where do you need to, make sure that your app, your stack is reacting as it should be? Is it at the storage layer? Is it at your network layer? Is it at your instance layer? So there's different layers. And so you want to make sure that each layer is able to actually withstand whatever disruption might happen at whatever layer. And not just withstand it, but be able to recover in a timely manner so that, your end application, your end users aren't getting impacted. So like, a great example of this is just, like when you have your banking applications or trading applications or whatever, like a shopping website. And sometimes you'll see, oh, it's taking so long to load, the site is taking so long to load, or this transaction is just taking so long to complete. And, it times out sometimes. So something's going on underneath the hood. And so you want to make sure that doesn't happen in production, and FIS can help you basically get there.
That's great explanation. Thank you so much. We actually had a really, I think, poignant question from chat as well from the Peanut 891, of course, to give you your full credit there. Is fault injection primarily useful for bigger organizations, or can you see it as useful for smaller companies too that don't deal with large scale quite yet?
No, I mean, it's available. I think it should be used for everything. Even if you're not large scale, you're sort of small scale, any sort of failure that happens can still impact whatever small scale application that you have. It might not be as big of a financial impact, or it might not be as large scale as, those bigger applications, but you will still find benefit, I would say, if you use FIS to make sure that your application is actually resilient to any sort of disruption that goes on under the hood.
No, that's great. And I wanted to understand, and I want to make sure we have plenty of time for the demo, but I just wanted to understand some of the considerations that were taken into account when building this.
Yeah, so specifically the new action that EBS launched here is a latency injection action. So what that does is it creates high IO latency on your EBS volume. And this is something that we heard from customers that was just really difficult to do at the storage layer. And so some of the considerations that we took into account was just, what does latency even mean to customers? How are they measuring latency? Is it average latency? Is it like a P90 measure of latency? What is it, read latency that they're concerned about? Is it write latency that's more important to them? So, taking all of these considerations, how sensitive certain applications are versus other applications that might not be as latency sensitive. We wanted to build something that was really customizable, but also easy to use.
Totally makes sense. And I think just for the sake of time, maybe we should jump in and start looking at this. We can absolutely keep talking because I think there are some unique challenges, right? That specifically the storage layer injecting fault into that you both have shared with me off stage. So I definitely want our audience to hear that too. But Kirill, are you ready to show us some of this working?
Yes, absolutely. And I'll start talking while I show you guys all the stuff. First, I wanted to actually share a little anecdote. So why is injecting network latency sometimes productive? A while ago, about like 10, 12 years ago, my coworkers and I, 3 of us were on call. 2 of them were in Seattle. I'm here in Houston. And while bored in the middle of the night, while being on call and unable to go to bed, we were playing this video game that just came out. It was still an alpha, like Kickstarter style. And it was a multiplayer game where the server itself was located in Seattle because it was in our data center. And the game didn't account for latency between Houston and Seattle. So whenever we did things together in the game, while chatting with customers, while doing all this stuff, they got all the loot because they had much better ping times to the video game server. And so in that case, I don't know if it was the right solution, but I figured out that if I injected network latency for their IPs on the server to kind of match my ping latency from Houston, we could get a fair game experience. I did it on the server without them noticing. They didn't initially say anything, and then I started messing with it, like introducing 200 milliseconds on their connections so I could get all the loot, and that's the first time they've noticed. Anyway, so network latency injection is pretty easy. You can do it on the firewall, you can do it on your network gear, it doesn't really matter. But injecting storage latency in a generalized fashion is really, really hard. Like, there is a way to do it in Linux using the delayed device mapper or DM delay, but you have to unmount and remount your block device. You have to restart your application. So it doesn't really work when you have to inject latency on a running application while preserving its current setup and state. And then, of course, you have to figure out how to do it on every kernel. You have to do it, how to figure out on every operating system, like Windows, Linux, Illumos, FreeBSD, whatever. So eventually we figured out that doing it on the storage layer would just make everybody's life a lot easier. And that's what I wanted to show you today.
Yeah, let's take a look.
Here I've got an instance. It's a normal like M7i or C7i, sorry, 8x large. It doesn't really matter. And I've got a boot volume and the volume that I'm actually going to inject latency on. So just a normal 100 gig GP3 volume. And first, I wanted to illustrate what happens without the latency injection. So I'm going to run a quick benchmark here. What is it? IO rand rw.fio. In case you guys are not familiar with FIO, it's the flexible IO tester tool. It's probably one of the best simple storage benchmarks out there. And it just makes testing so easy on Linux, and it, in fact, runs on pretty much every operating system. And so you can see here that with my specific benchmark, 16 kilobyte IO, QDEPT 8, at baseline, I get about 10,000 IOPS. So 5,000 read, 5,000 write. And when the benchmark finishes, it's going to give me a latency number, including the latency distribution. So how would we set up this experiment? Very simple. We would go to AWS FIS. You can just search for it in the console. You can browse our scenario library. So in this case, with EBS, we have a few predefined examples. Some easy, just like sustained latency, which is what I'm going to use today. But some are a little bit more complex, and you can create a template out of every such experiment, and you'll see that that a template can include multiple actions. So you can kind of model an entire workflow step by step in fault injection service. You can add multiple targets, and in fact, you can map multiple actions to multiple targets. And then you can, next, finish. There's a lot of different configuration options there. Like you can trigger it to stop whenever you get a CloudWatch alarm. You can save the logs. You can tag your experiments and so on. But I already have a predefined template, which will give me 10 milliseconds of sustained latency on my volume in 50% of the read situations and 100% of the write situations. So
I gotta say too, before you keep moving, Kirill, I think
Sure.
that scenario pane that we just saw is really useful as well for people who are just starting to explore FIS, not even just specifically for EBS, but great place to go if you're looking for what you can do with FIS, right?
Mhm.
You don't have to dive deep into learning the service. You can start there and there's a bunch of things that you can test out, and then you can learn more and more about it as you go. Sorry for blogging that, but we kind of jumped past that scenario page, and I couldn't catch you.
No worries. Yeah, the scenario page is really cool. I actually learned a lot the first time I saw it, so it's very polished. And I say that as like a developer, as somebody who's dealt with crappy UIs before. It's really polished. Anyway, in terms of the actual action definitions, so we've got duration. We can customize our start time. We can separately specify our read and write I/O latency, which is super powerful. And we can also separately specify the I/O percentage for reads and writes. That's essentially your p-value. So you can say that only 1% of the IOs should be delayed, and that lets you simulate a certain amount of storage jitter, as we call it. You can say 100% to just see how your application works with a consistent high latency. So
I think that's great. Like, it's often difficult to diagnose if you're going to have read issues or write issues unless you specifically know what your application is dependent upon, right? So being able to learn that information and change that as you do these experiments is very powerful. The other thing too, changing that percentage, you're allowed then to figure out which, what tolerance level do you have, right? What tolerance level do you have to failures? I think that's amazing. That enables so much for people out there running production applications.
Absolutely, yeah. And like as a former performance engineer, this is exactly what I would have wanted. In fact, I probably yelled about this feature the loudest at AWS. We've introduced the pause IO action about 2 years ago, which allowed you to just stall a volume. But I essentially said, why don't we figure out how to inject latency? And so that's what the team did. And I'm super grateful to Parnika for leading it and to our awesome developers for actually implementing it. Anyway, so I started this experiment now, and I started the benchmark in like shortly before. And you can see that at some point, I went from 5,000 read, 5,000 write IOPS approximately, to about 500 read, 500 write. And if you do the math on this kind of a test, on this kind of an IO profile, this is exactly what injecting 10 milliseconds of latency does to your workload. Your IOPS drop by about 10x, because we can see at the start of the experiment. So my P50 latency on reads was, that's before the experiment started, 619 microseconds, so about, half a millisecond, give or take. My write latency was around 1 millisecond, which is in line with our expectations for a GP3 volume. And now I'm injecting effectively 10 milliseconds on half of the reads and 10 milliseconds on all of the writes. And now this result, because I started the benchmark before the experiment started, will be kind of in the middle. So some of the IO has had the experiment running, some has not. But you can see here that already on like the P95, P99, and so on values, my latency went from, this is in microseconds, so it again went from the 970 that we saw earlier to about 10 milliseconds. And if I were to rerun this test again, now the experiment is running, so I haven't stopped it yet. It runs for 15 minutes. Now it's going to be consistently that behavior. And if I Control-C out of it, you'll see that now on the reads, my P50 is at 10, but my P40 is at 791. On the writes, even my P1 is at 10. So it's super flexible. It lets you kind of customize it. You can customize the runtime. And if you're experimenting in production, which some folks like to do, I think Netflix is a really good example with their Chaos Monkey and Chaos Gorilla. You can read all about that in their blogs. You can experiment in production, absolutely. Just be careful with it. But if your experiment runs away, you can stop it, and that's the end of that, which is what I just did.
That's amazing. We are running short of time, so I want to make sure we're able to cover too what people can go. I see the link has been dropped in chat, I believe. Learn more about this. Is there anywhere else that you would suggest people just getting started with either the new EBS features in FIS or FIS in general? You have any suggestions for our audience if they were captivated by what you just showed us, Kirill? Where to go?
I mean, play with it. So FIO is a great benchmark. FIS is an awesome service that lets you inject latency and introduce faults not just on the storage layer, but also on the network layer, on the EC2 instance layer. So you can see what happens if an instance, for example, goes away in a large distributed application. I think this is where the service is the most useful, is debugging and simulating what happens with applications that have multiple dependencies in like an interconnected system. I think it also works on Lambda too, by the way.
Oh, great. Parnik, any advice as well from you?
Like Kirill mentioned, I would say play around. Don't play around in production systems though, but
Good advice.
That's great.
You might create havoc for your end users, but yeah, play around. Like, go check out the user guide. It's like Kirill showed, there's initial tests that you can just run straight off. You don't even need to configure anything.
Yeah, those scenarios are great. It makes it really easy for the user to just jump in.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, just hands on.
And you know what? I think you have convinced me that can't believe I'm saying this even in my wildest dreams. I believe that I might have some faults. I don't know. Maybe I'm willing to admit it. Maybe you did convince me by the end of this.
It's giving me some anti-hero vibes over here.
I'm the problem. It's me. Don't worry, AM.
All right.
We're going to inject network latency into your connection. How about that?
Fair enough.
That's going to be a fault.
That's I love it. Thank you both for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Lovely to have you here. Hope you come back when you got something new to talk about. But got to move on to our next segment.
Thank you. Thanks all.
Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, what a show so far. I mean, and we still have more, Marie.
It's been flying by. I'm like, oh no, like I'm not ready for this to be over. And to put Nick on the spot, I thought I saw someone in the chat, right? I forgot that the show existed. This is awesome. Something along those lines. I'm paraphrasing. Yes. And so, yeah, it's great to be back and just learning a ton. And I have a lot of weekend projects ahead of me to dive in a bit deeper on these launches. Yeah,
that was Doom's Christmas. And I want Doom's Christmas to say that he'll remember me. That's what I want. Anyway. Yes. Before we get to our next segment, I do want to remind people we have a survey. Marie was so good about this in the first half of the show.
It's free money, you guys. Sign up.
It's free. It's free real estate. It's free money. Go tell us what you like. Go tell us maybe what you don't like. Maybe don't focus too much on that. Maybe just the positive stuff. I really respond well to positive feedback. So, but no, please fill out the survey truthfully. Give us feedback on what you'd like to see on the show, how we can make it better for you, and we will reward the first 30 people, which I don't know if the credits are all gone at this point. They might be.
Yeah. But still give us feedback.
Yeah.
And join us next time too. There may be credits again. So awesome.
Okay.
So yeah, what's happening next?
We're talking to Darko, right? And I think he's
Darko.
One of my favorite bands, the Stranglers, maybe. I think it's a good punk band. Maybe not. Maybe he's talking about something called the Strangler Pattern instead. I didn't read a lot, but I know he's going to come talk to us, right?
I think so.
Okay,
Darko,
let's bring him.
Yeah, let's see. Is he there?
Hello, friends. How are you doing? It's actually a post-punk band called the Strangler Patterns. I don't know.
Sorry, man. Take away my punk card, man. Come on.
Yeah, I know, man.
I'm an old guy now. I can't be relevant anymore.
It is. Hi, friends. Hello. Thank you for having me. Did you know that email is a growing business. Users are sending millions of messages per month, and we expect that email will be the major application used in internal networks by 1990. Yeah.
I remember 1990.
Yeah. Okay. Well, why am I bringing up 1990 or email or things growing? Is because I want to talk about the strangler pattern and what is the strangler pattern and why do we care about the strangler pattern and why do we care about any of those kinds of things? And it's all about scale. So yeah, I want to chat to you today and show you some code about what is the strangler pattern. It's a kind of one of those things developers should know about, and it's weirdly enough that I talk to a lot of devs and a lot of them never heard of it, and it's a common solution to a very common problem. So that's kind of my plan for today.
Yeah. No spoilers, but it's like when you got a bunch of old stuff, right?
When you have a bunch of old stuff, indeed, yes. Like I do.
Oh yeah, you own a lot of old stuff.
I know a lot, but first to introduce myself to the folks out there. Hi, folks. My name is Darko. I used to be what they call the system administrator. We used to be a thing. These days I go by a developer advocate. That means I get to talk to you about developing code stuff, cloud, computers, and everything in between. And I'm super happy to be back here. It's always great to talk to AM and Marie. I don't think we ever been on a live stream together. Yeah.
No, I think the last time I saw you was you're walking through the woods on one of your videos. On one of your videos.
I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Just randomly seeing me in the woods. That's always
in the woods. Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about something. Let's talk about monoliths. So I want to try to do something. So can you make me full screen? There we go. That is a monolith, or is that a monolith? I don't know. It's a big computer thing that runs a bunch of stuff. Now, what we want to do with that is we want to move that to something way smaller, something that runs in the cloud, something that can be scaled individually. We want to move that to microservices. So I want to show you how the strangler pattern actually helps developers move from a monolith to microservices type of deals. So that's gonna be my plan if I switch back to my face right now. And I'm gonna show you some code, and we're gonna talk about it. So I'm gonna first, before I actually go ahead and explain what a strangler pattern is, I want to show you some code. So allow sharing my screen. Share this entire screen. You can pop that up just as a talking point. Thank you. There you go. Yes. So I want to show you an application here, and it's a super simple application, and you will probably realize that I haven't written this application because it's written in Python. But this is a super simple application that's just a Flask application that returns users and orders. Nothing special, but everything in this application, from user management, whatever that is, to order management, whatever that is, runs within a single application, within a single Python piece of code here. You pop it up on an EC2 instance, you drop it on a server, and it just runs, right?
Darko, can I tell you how I know this is old code and a monolith?
How?
Because it's in Python and not Rust.
Right. I told you. I was like considering, like, should I just rewrite this in should I rewrite this example in Rust? I'm like, you know what? I don't want to get into Axum and all kinds of things. So yes, if this was an actual, if I wrote this with a lot more passion, it would be in Rust. But for the sake of simplicity, this is an application. Now, what happens if, for example, I have this massive growth of orders, right? Like all of a sudden, order processing is growing crazy, right? And like my user creation or user querying is just not that great, right? Not that invasive. So I have to scale up my entire server. I have my entire collection of applications. My whole application needs to scale with this. Or if I want to make changes to my users, I have to change the whole application and make the changes back in the thing. What if I could extract the users here? What if I can extract the user functionality from my application? That is creating a microservice. That is creating the microservice from users, basically removing it from this application into something else. So if I run this and I do like, I think I have a command, Docker compose. There we go. That's not the one. Little dash. There we go. So I'm going to run my little application here. And if I go here and do curl localhost, I think it's 8080, and I do orders, and then, is it orders? Like that. There we go. I get something. I get an information out. If I do users, and I do that, user 456. Great, that works. So what the strangler pattern is, it's actually named after the strangler vine, which is a plant that sounds incredibly dark, but the vine
Very violent.
starts wrapping a tree, right? The vine grows slowly on the tree, starts extracting nutrients from the tree until the tree is dead. So what we're going to try to do,
yeah,
it is very depressing, yes. So we're going to strangle our monolith slowly, extracting nutrients, extracting features from it until the monolith is dead. So so the strangler pattern is that like that. It's basically extracting certain elements from your monolithic application, from your big old Python application here, and moving it in front of something smaller. Basically moving the user functionality into a microservice, the order functionality into a different microservice. I don't know, profile pictures into the third microservice, right?
Can I maybe tie it back to our first segment, actually,
Yes.
a little bit? I know we're talking microservices, and that could be anywhere, right? Containers running in PKS, whatever, right? But I think a lot of people also associate the strangler pattern with serverless application development, because serverless is such a, a lot of people have to transition from the mindset of building in monoliths, right,
Correct.
to this new pattern of building in serverless applications where your compute is completely, in a Lambda function, that type of thing. So they do it cautiously, I'd say sometimes, and the strangler pattern enables you to do it cautiously and to move one thing into a serverless application instead of your whole application. Fair?
Exactly. And as developers, one of the first things you need to think about when working, and I'm showing this all running locally in the spirit of local stack. I'm running all of this locally in just containers, but this all applies to AWS or whatever you're hosting. So the first and the most important thing you need to do is set up some sort of a proxy, some sort of a gateway, some sort of an API gateway, some entry point to your application, which you can use to actually route those things. So in my example, when I'm going to move away our the users away from the monolith, I'm actually going to be using good old Nginx. And
load balance, baby.
Well, yeah. So this is basically my application that's kind of stripped into a microservice. But basically, you see here, I create a proxy service, and a proxy service is literally just Nginx, nothing else. And proxy service basically has paths. If I go and show you, if I can do that, I can do the conf file. Basically has two upstreams. One is the monolith and one is the user service. And what happens when you start strangling your monolith, you add additional upstreams, you add additional destinations, your routes in an API gateway. And those specific upstreams, those routes point to different applications. So now, if I do my little Docker compose command here, and I run phase 2 will actually spin up two containers, actually three containers. One is going to be the proxy, the Nginx server. One is going to be the monolith. The monolith still exists in its original form. The monolith has not been changed. I have not removed code from the monolith. It's still exactly the same. However, thanks to the proxy, thanks to Nginx, the /users path, the functionality, is actually being diverted to something else. So if I go here and I run my little curl command, it still works. The order is coming from the monolith. But if I do the user, so if I do users, and I don't know, 1973, it comes from a user service, right? So all of a sudden, my user service has been migrated over to a microservice, which I can develop independently, scale independently, do with it what I want independently. Like this even applies when moving to the cloud. Maybe you want to move a little bit of your service to the cloud. That's the way you do it. It's the strangler pattern.
I'm so surprised you didn't use 1989 there when it was right there.
Man, yeah. So this is well, actually, weirdly enough, this edition of Byte magazine is from January 1988. So
Ooh.
even older. But yes, that is the strangler pattern, and that's a very common use case, especially even now when we are trying to like rewrite applications, rejig applications from some traditional code bases using coding assistants to something else. Moving them to microservices is better, number one, because you don't want to ingest your entire code base into an LLM. That's going to be very expensive. So building new functionality on top of them as microservices definitely makes a lot of sense. Okay, I think my time is slowly up. So before I go, my friends, I need to share one more thing. So my team, the AWS Developer Experience team, is proudly working with AWS Cloud Clubs. Now, AWS Cloud Clubs are basically student-led AWS user groups. So for folks out there, students, people in colleges, if you people want to kind of get a kickstart on your career, join a community, be part of some big AWS thing, join a Cloud Club today. We have applications open right now. So folks, up until October 6th, you can go and join. It's free to apply. There are certain requirements you wanna try to get, but we can get you things like AWS credits, access to some additional material, being part of the AWS community. So I definitely do invite a lot of the students out there in the audience. Please do check this link out. I think it's going to be in the thingy thing.
Yeah, I wish that they had something. Yeah, the link is there. But yeah, I wish they had something like this back in my day.
Right.
Yeah, a community, credits, people to talk to about the cloud. That sounds great.
It's great, and definitely do not sleep on that, folks. The link's going to be in the description. Thank you so much. I see somebody saying, "Sir, I didn't quite understand the difference." I'm gonna respond in chat if that makes sense. So, Mr. Eng Campolo, yes. Since my time is up.
It's always great to see you.
It's great to see you out of the woods, Darko.
Finally, Darko's out of the woods. Oh my God, yeah. Okay, friends, thank you so much. I'm gonna go dismantle this monolith, and I'll be catching you next time.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll give a quick recap there too, maybe, and help out as Darko responds to you in chat. But you might have heard a lot of people, especially dealing with older code bases and like what Darko is describing, a monolith, right? Where all of my code that runs an application is all together and runs in one server, for example, like Darko showed us. You might have heard a lot of people use the term, I need to decompose the monolith, which means maybe one portion of your application, like he was showing us orders versus users. My orders service is way more impacted by scale needs than my user service. People aren't using the user service as much. They do it to sign in or change their name. They're placing orders a lot more often. If it's a monolith, I got to scale everything up to meet the demand for that users. If I could break that users out somehow and scale that up separately in a different application, maybe a serverless application like we talked about building in our first segment, then you can scale to meet the needs for your orders as Darko showed us. And so with the strangler pattern, you're using your whole application just as it was because you've got that proxy sitting in the middle to route traffic between your two applications. And look, Marie, we got an okay, I get it.
Awesome. Yeah. No, and I love this show because we get to bring it all together, right? We get to take the first demo and pull it into what everyone's seeing and they can see the full picture.
And you know what, Marie? You might not always be able to get help, from the show. You might not be able to get help from your friends or colleagues or anything like that. But there is a place you can always go to get help. And that's Repost. And that's who is about to come and join us on the show.
I'm excited. Yeah. Why don't you guys hop on?
Yeah.
All right. Happy Friday. My name is Anup Shivadas. I'm a Principal Solutions Architect here at AWS. Dalian?
Hey, folks. My name is Dalian Ayakpour, and I'm a Senior Technical Account Manager here at AWS, serving customers in the travel and hospitality space. And it's been a great episode of AWS On Air thus far. I mean, a little bit of doom and gloom, though. We've been talking about strangling. We've been talking about faults and injections. But yeah, what have we got here? Luckily, we're here to come lighten the load a little bit. You can see AWS Repost as your friendly neighborhood place to go get questions answered, get articles, and a community to get involved in, help you get some answers to some of your AWS problems. Isn't that right, Anoop?
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. Totally. So I'm coming to you live from Washington, D.C., and both Dalian and I are regular hosts for Repost Live, which is a companion live stream for repost.aws. If you haven't checked out repost.aws, just head over to repost.aws, sign up using your AWS account ID or builder ID, and there is a lot of goodness. You can ask questions, you can read about articles, you can join community. Trust me, there is a lot of goodness with repost.aws. You don't want to miss that out.
Yeah, what are you waiting for? It's free. Go ahead and go get your account and start asking your questions there.
Yeah, even we have an AI agent that can answer your question, which is pretty cool. So yeah, head over to Repost. That's an awesome platform. So Dalian, that was quite a show, right? We kind of learned about EBS latency injection. We learned about the new Lambda experience with local stack. I was pretty much waiting for these two features. Trust me, Dalian. I was a database person for a long time. Really badly wanted to get these features like latency injections with EBS and all to make sure my database will not fail randomly at night. So yeah, exciting features. And within our community, since these new features are pretty new, if you just look at my screen, we don't have a lot of questions around these two features. But what I did was I posted some questions which I normally get from customers with whom I interact with, and I just posted these questions today morning with Repost. And as I mentioned, we have an AI agent, we have a Repost agent, which actually went and answered these questions. So essentially, we'll start off with the EBS latency injection, Dalian. And I pretty much started asking questions like, hey, can AWS FIS be used to realistically simulate storage issues on database workloads? So like every database administrators that out there, everybody wanted to inject these failures, whether it is a cluster failure or a database like storage failure, or even like latency injection, right? Database administrators and engineers want to do that. So I kind of posted this question, and the Repost agent actually picked that we do have this new action that we discussed today in the show, which is around latency injection action, right? So you can essentially use that action to inject latency and then see how your database system behaves, and then you can take actions based on that. So that's again a great recommendation that was given by the Repost agent. You can also pause IO action if you want. So if you want to gracefully handle IO interruptions, you can try to do that as well. So there are different actions which is available with FIS, but the agent was able to pick the new announcement here, Dalian. Have you faced similar questions from customers?
Absolutely. And I have some customers who've used AWS fault injection, and one of the common questions is, they're using services that aren't currently supported. And so new service support and new features within that service to really get the whole life cycle of their application to test out is great to see. So here at AWS, we'd love to work backwards from the customer. We love to say we're customer obsessed. And here's just a great way to show it, adding some of the features. I know the team before mentioned how hard it was to simulate that and get that involved. But hey, no feat is too big. We're definitely looking to handle those customer problems and really deliver to make sure your applications are running optimally and you're able to test these out before you run into issues in production. So better safe than sorry.
Exactly. Absolutely agree with you. So yeah, feel free to start leveraging these features and actions that is available with FIS, and then get started. Again, I get this question all the time as well. So when we talk about FIS and all these new actions like latency injection, or even pausing the IO, etc., this question comes up all the time, and I asked this question to Repost today morning too. how do I immediately end a FIS simulation for EBS, for example, right? So we have this new action for latency injection. How do I immediately terminate that FIS experiment, if you will? So with FIS service, there is a notion called as experiment. So how do I stop an experiment immediately? Because I don't want to have cascading failures, if you want, right? So, I mean, doing this chaos engineering in a controlled manner is very important. So how do you do that, right? How do you immediately terminate an FIS experiment, if you will? So the answer to this is you can leverage something called as a stop condition for FIS. So that's, again, a capability that is there within FIS, where it will allow you to have some guardrails around your experiment so that you can run these experiments safely, so that, you don't pretty much run into like cascading failures and all, right? So a stop condition essentially can be leveraged, and there is a relationship between a stop condition and a CloudWatch alarm. So you can essentially set a CloudWatch alarm, and then based on that, you can pretty much like terminate an experiment as well. So that's, again, an additional aspect that I get all the time. So that question was asked with repost. If you have questions around EBS latency injection or any of those features, let us know by asking a question in repost, and either the agent will answer or one of the AWS expert will be answering that for you as well. So again, open for questions.
I think one of the worst things beyond not being able to fault or inject a fault into your application is not being able to stop that that fault. So definitely good to know that we can have be able to stop those stop conditions to ensure that once we do want something to cut off, we can get that going and our application can recover.
Yeah, even if I do this experiment in production, I want to do this in a controlled manner, right? So yeah, that's what I wanted to kind of share. Some questions that we get all the time. So Dalian, I think we can switch gears and talk about the local stack experience as well with Lambda, right? Do you have customers who might be interested in that feature, Dalian? I definitely see.
Yeah, I mean, being able to take things away from, leveraging it in the console or AWS platform and be able to run the things locally, I mean, that just sounds easier. Having the ability to do that definitely sounds like a benefit to developers who are running these things, potentially, not having it in your environment and having it in your local environment can be very beneficial depending on the workloads and things that you're working on.
Exactly. So I was in a hackathon like this week. I totally missed this feature. If this feature was there, I mean, if I was aware of this feature, I could have easily reduced a lot of back and forth that I had to do when I was hacking a few things with Lambda. So this is an amazing experience that we've launched. I love the fact that we are improving the developer experience with serverless technologies like Lambda. Good point to kind of also call out that, again, this is not just limited to Lambda. So you can still leverage this functionality when you're interacting with DynamoDB for that matter, SQS for that matter, or even EventBridge. So this is going to continue, right? So this local stack capability is going to expand, and you will get more and more capabilities there, which is pretty amazing. One question again that came to my mind is, and I'm pretty sure customers will ask about that as well. What are some of the limitations of local stacks emulation within VS Code? So I asked that question, and the agent, the repost agent, went ahead and answered that one. Again, there are few areas where the agent is not quite accurate, but we can definitely get that corrected, because there is a human in the loop where an expert, a real human expert, will come and review this question, and then it will be reviewed and it will be corrected if needed. But one thing that the agent called out sounds interesting to me, saying that, hey, the local stack doesn't have or doesn't enforce the same service quotas and limit as the actual AWS environment. So there might be some gotchas that you still have to keep in mind if you are kind of thinking about leveraging this emulation part, right? So that's something which I want to call out. Permissions was also called out by the agent, but again, in some of the discussions earlier, I think permissions will be taken care, because you're pretty much interacting with the real APIs, and some of the cases SDKs too. So I do not think permission issue will be there. But again, these are some of the things that you can think about, right? So as you, I
did want to call out here. Yeah, no, definitely a well in-depth response from the AI model here. But as you mentioned, just for our users who are looking at these type of questions, if you scroll up a little bit, it will tell you where if an expert has validated this. So on the repost page, if you scrolled up a little bit, it'll tell you that the individual up the other way.
Exactly.
There we go. Yeah, that it hasn't been reviewed yet. So if you show that, this is definitely a good start, but definitely make sure until you get that validation from a AWS validated human to before you go off and tell your friends.
Yeah, awesome. So I think we are almost on time. So those were the key features that was launched, and there is a lot of interest among the community too. Please keep asking questions around these features. We'll be there to answer these, and the agent will also answer this. So with that, I think, Dalian, we can wrap up. Until next time, happy building.
Yeah, well, I think we're just bringing up Marie and AM back, and I think we're going to close it out here with them, the friends.
Oh, man. Yeah, what a show. I definitely have teardrops on my guitar thinking about this being over. But yeah, AM, you want to recap some of the cool things that we saw today?
Well, I mean, first I want to welcome you back. I know you stayed away for a long time, but I just want you to know there's no bad blood, okay? You can come back anytime. It was great having you host again.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a blast. Yeah, the time goes by real quick.
Yeah, we saw a lot today. We saw all of the great new features to help you build serverless applications, to help you work in the IDEs locally that you're used to, instead of having to, get into that loop of deploying, waiting for CloudFormation.
Yeah.
We all know how that goes. That was great to see. We also heard from, of course, our BFF, Jeff Barr, right? Always a pleasure to hear from Jeff. What a legend.
And then we got to end
on the show, I can tell you that.
And then we got to end with reposts. I'm going to skip us to the end because I'm getting the little
2 minutes.
Just kidding. Right now we're back to 2 minutes. So keep going.
Yeah. Yes, reposts. We just heard from. Prior to that, we were hearing from all the exciting Vault Injection Simulator additions with EBS, which, as we heard, it's kind of difficult sometimes to simulate storage layer things, and it's not anymore because now you've got this EBS feature. And of course, we got to hang out with Darko, who taught us all about the strangler pattern. We got a bunch of things to shout out, Marie. Let's start with Darko, because we were just talking about Darko.
I heard he's going on a road trip or something, right?
Yeah, some sort of road trip. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a link? Let's see. Oh, there we go. Oh, Aaron Hunter as well, I'm guessing, is on that road trip. Aaron Hunter and Darko. Okay, perfect. Go check that out. And
you're on the East Coast. I know they'll be going along the East Coast. I believe New York, DC, Philadelphia. I know they're stopping up in Detroit. I'm looking forward to linking up with them up there. So yeah, make sure you check out the website and find out where they're stopping.
That is quite a road trip. Yeah.
It sounds like they purposely. It sounds like they purposely are avoiding me. I'm no Texas stops. Okay, rude. Even though Aaron is based in Texas, fine. Okay, Marie, you've got something you wanna
share. So bringing us back to when we chatted with Jeff, we do have the AI Agents Hackathon. It is a global hackathon, so anyone can participate. Rules are on the page. Over 5,500 participants. We've had people signing up while we've been on this. But yeah, compete for prizes and for pride. So sign up.
Love it. Yeah. All right, and then I'll plug my own thing too. reInvent season is upon us. I know it's still quite a few months, but we're already out there. We're already planning. We already have things going on. The game day team. We got 4 sessions out in Mandalay Bay.
You won't want to miss it. They're going to be great.
Those right now. And then as soon as reserve seating opens, which should be happening sometime, keep your eye, get your seat, because they fill up. Even if it fills up, come down to Mandalay, because people don't always show up for their reservation. And, just got the chat too. Jeff Barr will be making an appearance at the game day session. So
Yeah, so you'll want to be there. You have to sign up for all 4 because you don't know which one he's going to be at. So
that's right. We gotta go.
We gotta go. Look what you made me do, AM. We are late. So good to see everyone. Thank you for coming. Join us next time on Air.
Bye.
Yo.